In this video, we're going to talk about how to do our trig functions on our TI-84. This also will work on the TI-83 calculator. Not a whole lot's going to be different if you happen to have one of these. If you don't have a TI-83 or 84 calculator, you can go to the link on the class website. You can download an emulator for that. I'm going to also show you how you can do this on Desmos. But let's talk about the calculators for right now. If you'll notice here in the center of the calculator, you can see the sine, cosine, and tangent buttons here on the screen. They are the second row of black keys above our numbers. You'll see sine, cosine, and tangent. And before we do anything with doing trig on the calculator, we have to make sure that our calculator is in the right mode. If you happen to have the TI-84 calculator, or if you're using this particular software, it will emulate the TI-84, but here is a screenshot of what the little screen looks like, and you can see across the top it has the words normal, float, auto, real, degree, MP. This tells us what mode the calculator is in. We always, for our purposes in Math 2 right now, and in generally most other situations, we want our calculators to be in degree mode. For whatever reason, these calculators will default to a different mode. So let's say for you have a calculator and it's not in degree mode. It says something different here. It says radian instead. Let's talk about how to change that. So we're going to press the mode button, and you can see it highlighted in red here on the keypad. And here's all the different things that you can change about that. And if we can use the arrow keys on our button, on our calculator rather, and we get down to this fourth row and we see we have radian and degrees. And radian is flashing because it's not in radian mode. Degree is highlighted in black. That's the mode we want it in. Let's just pretend for a moment that it's in radian mode. Okay, degree is no longer highlighted. If we wanted to put it in degree mode, we'd scroll over to degree, we'd hit the enter button. All right, and now our calculator is in degree mode. That is so important. In a few days, when you're doing some applications of the trig functions and you're trying to find the values of missing angles and missing sides, and you know you've done your work correctly, you've got everything set up, but your numbers are just horrendously off, check the mode of your calculator. That's the number one thing to always check. When you know you've done it right and your answers are just completely wrong, there's a really good chance that your calculator is in radian mode instead of degree mode. I've seen it in about a bazillion cases. So now we have our calculator in degree mode. Let's go back to a regular screen. And let's just use our trig functions on our calculator to see how this works. Let's pretend that we want to find the sine of 56 degrees. So we would hit the sine button, and then we would type in 56. And if you want to put the closing parenthesis, you can. It's not necessary, but just hit enter. And this tells us that the sine of 56 degrees is 0.82903757726, and this probably actually goes on forever as an irrational number. Okay? And in future lessons where we start talking about the applications of this, it's going to be really important that we understand how to handle that number. Unless your instructions tell you otherwise, don't ever round these numbers. And we'll talk about something called a calculator ready form in future applications of this. But for now, this is how you would use the calculator to find your trig functions. If we wanted to find the cosine, again, we hit cosine, and let's just say we want to find the cosine of 60 degrees. We could hit enter. And we learn, oh, it's 0.5. There's one that comes out nice and neat. If you think back to your special right triangles, you might be able to figure out why that is the case. I'll just leave that as something for you to go and explore on your own. Let's do one more. The tangent of, we'll do 45 degrees. The tangent, oh, now that's interesting. The tangent of 45 degrees is 1. Again, I bet if you go back to your special right triangles, you can figure out why that's the case. But there's how you do this in the calculator. The most important thing is that you have it in degree mode. One other thing I want to point out, if you look right above the trig keys, if you look above the sine, the cosine, and the tangent keys, you will see in this particular instance, written in light blue, I don't know what color it'll be on your calculator if you're doing this on your own calculator, but you'll see sine with an exponent of -1 and cosine with an exponent of -1 and tangent with an exponent of -1. And those are the inverse trig functions. When we talk about how to find the missing angles of a triangle using the trig functions, those are going to come into play. But you can see there's how you find them. They're above the trig functions, and since they're written in blue, that means we're going to use the blue second key to find them. We'll talk about how those things get used when we get around to actually using them, though. But I just want you to see where they're located. Let's talk about now how to use Desmos. Let's say for a moment you don't have a TI-84 or 83 graphing calculator. You don't want to download that software to your computer. That's okay. You can go to the website desmos.com calculator, and we can use that to find out our trig ratios. Now, remember when I said with the calculator we had to make sure that it's in degree mode? Again, for whatever reason, all these calculators always default to radians. We need to make sure that Desmos, if we're using it, is in degree mode. Well, if you look here on the screen, there's no mode key. Over here in the top right hand corner of our Desmos screen, you'll see this little wrench. You can see my little finger of my pointer is on that wrench. That is where we change our settings. So we're going to click that wrench. And if we look down here, we see, oh, this is in radian mode because the radian is the part that is highlighted. So let's change this to degree mode. Again, we want to make sure we're in the right mode or we're going to always get the wrong answers. So we're now in degree mode. And most of you are accustomed to using Desmos just for graphs, but you can use it to do actual computations as well. And we can just type in here where we would type in an equation that we wanted to graph, and we could find those values. Again, let's say we want to find the sine of 56 degrees. We've already put it in degree mode, so we can just type in sine 56. We don't have to have a degree symbol. And oh, look, that looks like it might be the same thing that was on the other. A few more digits, but it's the same thing. I think we found the cosine of 60 degrees, and it was 0.5. And we want to find the tangent of 45 degrees. Key that in. Oh, it's equal to 1. So here's how you could use Desmos to do your trig things as well, to find your trig values. From a trigonometric function standpoint, you may actually have a calculator lying around your home that has the sine, cosine, and tangent keys on them. And you could use those just as easily. It doesn't have to be a graphing calculator. It doesn't have to be Desmos. It could just be a generic scientific calculator that has a lot of different functions on those, and one set of those functions being the all-important trigonometric functions. As long as it's got a sine, cosine, and tangent key on it, you can use it for what we're going to be doing in this unit.